The wild Mustang appeared on a cold October morning, and the moment Rafael Mendoza saw him standing at the tree line, he felt something shift in the air. The horse didn't move. He just watched Rafael with eyes that held a warning and a plea at the same time. Those eyes stopped Rafael's heart because this wasn't any ordinary Mustang. This one looked like he had survived battles no horse should ever face. Deep scars ran along his ribs, his mane was rough from mountain storms, and yet he stood with the king-like stillness of an animal sent with a purpose. Rafael had lost 8 horses in 3 months. They didn't break fences, didn't leave tracks, didn't leave a single clue. They were there one day and gone the next. Each disappearance pushed Rafael closer to losing everything his grandmother had built on their Colorado ranch. He barely slept anymore. He barely ate. Each sunrise meant checking empty stalls and drowning in questions with no answers. But when the Mustang turned his head toward the forest and gave a low call, Rafael felt something he hadn't felt in months. A direction, a message, a reason. He leaned against the fence, watching the Mustang stand tall against the morning wind. "What do you want to show me, boy?" Rafael whispered. He didn't know why he said it out loud, but the moment the words left his mouth, the Mustang stepped forward, soft and steady, as if answering him. For 3 days the pattern repeated. At sunrise, the Mustang appeared. He never crossed the fence, but stayed close enough to watch Rafael's every move. He never acted afraid, but he never pushed too close either. Rafael talked to him in Spanish like his grandmother used to, telling him about the disappearing horses and the debts closing in. And the Mustang listened. Truly listened. Every time Rafael finished speaking, the horse would glance toward the mountains again. On the 4th morning, Rafael decided to follow him. He saddled his gelding and slipped into the pines as the Mustang led the way, moving with the steady grace of something born from wild country. The forest was quiet except for the wind brushing through the branches. Rafael knew every trail on his 800 acres, or at least he thought he did. But the Mustang walked paths that didn't appear on any of his maps. Trails too narrow for cattle, too hidden for hunters, but perfect for a horse who had lived his whole life dodging danger. They climbed higher into rugged foothills with sharp rocks and thick aspen groves. Rafael's gelding breathed hard behind the Mustang, trying to keep up. Rafael felt sweat run down his back, even though the air was cold. Then, suddenly, the Mustang stopped at a narrow gap between 2 massive boulders. Rafael had ridden this mountain for 15 years and never noticed this opening. It looked like a doorway cut straight into the ridge. The Mustang slipped through it, and Rafael followed. What he saw on the other side stole the breath from his lungs. A hidden valley spread beneath him, green and alive even as the rest of the mountains turned brown for winter. Lush grass blanketed the ground, far healthier than anything on his ranch. A creek ran through the center like a silver ribbon, and in the middle of that valley, surrounded by pine trees and shadows, stood metal corral panels, new ones, too new. They formed temporary pens large enough for horses. Rafael's heart thundered. Someone had built a secret pasture right on his land. He rode nearer, each step heavier than the last. Hoof prints surrounded the pens, fresh ones. And not just wild Mustang prints, quarter horse prints, trained horse prints, the kind that had been disappearing from his ranch all summer. The Mustang walked straight to the edge of the corral and nickered. A moment later, the door of a stone cabin opened, and a woman stepped out. She moved like someone used to working with horses, steady, alert, unafraid. Her clothes were worn from long days in the mountains, and her braid looked like it had survived more storms than most ranchers could handle. But it was her eyes that froze Rafael in place. They held the same sharp intelligence as the Mustang's, like she knew the truth he was desperate to find. "Rafael Mendoza," she said quietly, "I've been waiting for the Mustang to bring you." Quote, Rafael felt the ground tilt under his feet. She knew his name. She was living on his land. And she had a wild Mustang acting like her partner. "Who are you?" he asked, voice tight. "And what are you doing in this valley?" "My name is Dr. Catalina Reyes," she replied. "I'm a veterinarian who investigates bloodline fraud, and I know exactly what's been happening to your horses." Rafael's stomach twisted. "You need to see something," she said, stepping aside from the doorway. "But I'm warning you now. After you walk inside this cabin, nothing about your life will ever be the same again." The Mustang nudged Raphael's arm, urging him forward. Raphael swallowed hard and stepped into the cabin, not knowing that what waited inside would shake the very roots of the horse world and drag him into a fight far bigger than he had ever imagined. The air inside the stone cabin felt heavier than the mountain cold outside. The moment Raphael crossed the threshold, he understood why Dr. Catalina Reyes had warned him. This wasn't a simple hideout. It was a command center. A wall of screens blinked with surveillance feeds. Photos of horses, his horses, covered an entire board like a crime map. Papers lay scattered across tables, lined up in neat rows that looked far too organized to be random notes. Dr. Reyes walked straight to the photographs. "These are your horses," she said, "every one of them taken in the last 8 months." Raphael stepped closer and his throat tightened. Estrella, Viento, Paloma, Rio, Sombra. Horses he'd raised from foals. Horses he'd trained, fed, brushed, and trusted. Their faces stared back at him, under harsh camera light, being led into unfamiliar trailers, standing in pens he had never seen before, delivered to facilities across the country. You've been watching them get stolen?" he asked, his voice cracking. "I've been tracking the thieves," she said. "Watching isn't the same as stopping, not yet." She handed Raphael a thick folder. "Look." Inside were forged papers, registration records, DNA results, sale receipts. All of them stamped with different ranch names, none of them real. His jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "These papers were used to sell your horses at high-end auctions," she explained. "They didn't vanish. They were taken, targeted." Raphael stared at the documents until the words blurred. "Why me?" "You aren't the only one," she said, pointing at a map covered in red markers. "This pattern stretches across 10 states. The thieves choose ranchers with valuable bloodlines, but small enough operations that disappearances raise fewer questions." Raphael felt sick. His grandmother's teachings echoed in his ears. "Horses see the soul, Mijo." Maybe Cimarron, the Mustang, had seen something in Raphael he didn't see in himself. Something worth saving. Dr. Reyes showed him a photograph of a man in a suit shaking hands at a horse show. Her face was in the picture, too. "This is Vincent Ashworth," she said, "founder of Equestrian Elite Services, the largest private horse brokerage in the West." "I know that name," Raphael said. "They sell horses for 6 figures. They steal horses," she corrected. "Then they forge pedigrees and sell them to the highest bidder." She tapped another picture, this one of a hard-eyed man leaning beside a pickup truck. "This is Marcus Webb. He runs the field operations. He's the one who stole your horses." Rage simmered under Raphael's ribs. "Why haven't you called the law?" "I did," she said with a sad smile. "But men like Ashworth have friends in high places. They buried my claims and fired me before I could expose them, so I built my own investigation." She led Raphael into another room where a row of computers displayed live radio traffic, GPS data, and encrypted messages. "You've been spying on them?" Raphael asked. "Monitoring," she corrected. "They're arrogant. They think no one can touch them, so they talk freely." She clicked on a recording. Webb's voice filled the room. "Mendoza's ranch is next. The stallion's worth a fortune if we change the sire line. The mares will be easy. Move before winter sets in." Raphael felt the blood drain from his face. "They're coming back." Dr. Reyes nodded. "Tonight." "Tonight," he repeated. "They're planning to take the rest of your herd," she said. "Every horse you have left." Quote. Raphael's knees weakened, and he grabbed the table for support. His remaining horses, Cielo Dorado, his broodmares, his yearlings, they were all in danger. Dr. Reyes stepped closer. "This is why Cimarron brought you. The Mustang has been watching their movements for months. He knows their routes, their noise, their smell. You weren't supposed to fight this alone." Raphael looked out the window. Cimarron stood tall on a rise, scanning the valley like a soldier on watch. "What do we do?" Raphael asked. Dr. Reyes clicked open a secure communication panel. Dozens of names appeared, ranchers across the West, investigators, and a handful of lawmen she trusted. "We've spent months gathering evidence," she said. "The FBI is finally ready to move, but they need one thing." "What?" "Proof of an active theft in progress," she said. "Tonight will give us everything." Raphael swallowed hard. "So we let them steal my horses?" "No," she said. "We let them try." Quote. She pointed at the ridge above the valley. "We'll set up there. Cameras, night scopes, audio feeds. When Webb's crew arrives, every step they take will be recorded. Once they load your horses, the FBI will strike." Raphael shook his head. "You're asking me to watch them hurt my horses again." "I'm asking you to save hundreds of horses across the country," she said softly. "Your pain tonight will stop this entire operation." Raphael stared at the Mustang outside, scarred and unbroken. A wild horse who had survived what most could never imagine. A horse who had chosen him. "Okay," Raphael whispered. "I'll do it." As the sun dipped behind the Colorado peaks, the hidden valley darkened into deep blue shadows. Dr. Reyes handed Raphael a night vision scope and a small recorder. "Stay close, stay quiet, and when it starts, don't look away." Raphael took a deep breath. Below them, the mountain wind rustled through the pines like distant warning whispers. Cimarron lifted his head toward the south, his ears pricked, and Raphael knew the night was about to bring a storm of truth, one that could destroy him or save everything he loved. The mountains held their breath as midnight crept over the hidden valley. A sharp, cold wind slid down from the peaks, brushing the pines and rattling loose needles onto the forest floor. Raphael crouched beside Dr. Reyes on the high ridge, his hands tight around the night vision scope. Cimarron stood a few feet away, motionless except for the steady turn of his ears. The Mustang heard things long before any human could. At 2:17 a.m., Cimarron lifted his head, his body stiffened like a drawn bow. "They're coming," Dr. Reyes whispered. Raphael pointed the scope toward the forest entrance. Through the green glow of the lens, shadowy shapes moved down the mountain road, silent, coordinated, dangerous. 2 trailers, headlights off. 3 black pickup trucks behind them. The engines hummed low, almost ghost-like in the night air. Raphael's heart pounded. That's them. The convoy stopped at the edge of the valley. Men poured out, dressed in dark, tactical gear. They carried equipment Raphael had only ever seen in movies. Tranquilizer rifles, electronic jammers, noise disruptors built to confuse horses. These weren't ranch thieves. This was a trained crew. Marcus Webb stepped forward, tall, confident, wearing a headset that glowed faintly under the night scope. He looked at the valley like it belonged to him. "Remember?" Webb said sharply through the intercepted radio. "We take everything tonight. No mistakes, no noise." Raphael's stomach twisted. Those were his horses they were talking about, his family, his life. The thieves moved fast, cutting fences without sound, disabling cameras with handheld devices. They spread across the property in 3 units, exactly how Dr. Reyes predicted. Within minutes, they slipped into the pastures where Cielo Dorado and the remaining broodmares grazed under the moon. Raphael watched helplessly as his stallion lifted his head, sensing danger. Cielo Dorado snorted, pawed, and placed himself between the intruders and his mares. The thieves didn't flinch. They pulled out the sonic disruptor. "Don't do it," Raphael whispered, voice breaking. A shrill, invisible wave shot across the pasture. Cielo Dorado reared violently as the sound tore through his senses. The mares panicked, stumbling and circling, unable to understand the pain exploding in their ears. Raphael pressed a trembling hand to his mouth as tears blurred his vision. "Hold it together," Dr. Reyes murmured. "We need this recorded." Raphael forced himself to keep watching, to keep filming, to keep breathing. Within minutes, the thieves pushed the disoriented horses into portable corrals. Cielo Dorado fought until the last second, kicking, striking, refusing to surrender. But even he couldn't stay upright against the tranquilizer dart that finally hit his shoulder. Raphael's chest split with rage. "They can't do this," he said. "They can't keep doing this." "They won't," Dr. Reyes whispered. "Not after tonight." The moment the last horse was loaded, a voice snapped through Dr. Reyes's earpiece. "All units, execute." The mountain exploded into light. Floodlights roared to life. Helicopters thundered overhead. Dozens of federal agents surged from the trees like a tidal wave, surrounding the thieves in seconds. "Federal agents! Drop your weapons!" Panic ripped through the camp. Webb spun around, stunned. His men froze under the blinding lights, realizing too late that they were trapped. Some tried to run. Agents tackled them. Others surrendered instantly. Webb himself was forced to the ground beside the trailer containing Raphael's horses. Raphael felt breath return to his lungs for the first time in hours. "It's over," Dr. Reyes said softly. "Raphael, we did it." But before Raphael could move, Cimarron launched down the ridge like a streak of iron and fire. "Cimarron!" Raphael called out. The Mustang didn't stop. He galloped across the valley, straight toward the trailers. Not out of fear, but purpose. When he reached trailer number 2, he didn't hesitate. He pawed the ground, nickered sharply, then struck the metal with his hoof. "What's he doing?" an FBI agent shouted. "Check that one!" Dr. Reyes ordered. "Now!" Agents swung the trailer doors open. What they found inside froze everyone in place. Hidden compartments held stacks of forged registration papers. Thousands of them. DNA kits, microchip scanners, hard drives full of falsified bloodline data, maps of ranches across the West, logs of every horse stolen in the last 5 years. This wasn't just theft. It was a national breeding fraud network, a crime worth millions. Cimarron had led Raphael to the valley. Now he had led them to the final proof. An FBI agent approached Raphael. "Sir, your Mustang might have just saved the entire horse industry." Raphael looked at Cimarron, breath shaking. "He's not my Mustang," he whispered. "But he chose to help me." As dawn touched the peaks, agents opened the trailer, holding Raphael's horses. Cielo Dorado staggered out first, shaking his head as the last of the tranquilizer wore off. When he saw Raphael, he stepped forward, pressing his forehead against Raphael's chest. Raphael wrapped both arms around his stallion and broke down. "You're home," he whispered. "I've got you. I've got all of you." Quote. One by one, his mares and young horses followed, gathering around him like children returning to safety. News crews captured every moment. The world would soon know the truth. Cimarron stood apart, watching with calm eyes. When Raphael walked toward him, the Mustang lowered his head. "Thank you," Raphael said. "You saved my horses. You saved everything." Cimarron allowed Raphael to rest a hand on his neck, one quiet moment between a man and a wild guardian. Then the Mustang turned toward the forest. He walked away slowly, proudly, disappearing into the pines as the morning sun lit his scarred back like a crown. He had done what he came to do. Raphael watched until he vanished completely. His ranch would rise again. His horses were safe. The fraud ring was destroyed. And somewhere deep in the Colorado wilds, a Mustang with an old soul guarded the land with silent, everlasting loyalty. Some horses choose their people. Some choose their battles. Cimarron chose both.